What is up? My name is Melissa Makak from Room 51, and this is Teach the Teach on the Dice Tower, where I teach you how to teach a board game. And in this video, I'll be covering Red Rising. So now, this is a how to teach video, meaning I'm assuming you already know how to play this game, and now you're looking to teach it to other players. There are plenty of ways to teach games. This is just a way that has worked for me. It could possibly help you out if you have any sort of difficulties teaching games or this game in particular. And with that, Jamie Stegmaier, the designer of this game, also came out with a video on how to teach this game, so you could go ahead and check that out. There's going to be some variations in between both of our videos, as you'll see. But anyway, let's get into it. So I always start off with the three main things. The story behind the game, where the red are rising. The objective of the game, which is getting the most victory points, and then how the game ends. And with that, I'm actually going to go ahead and go down to the board so I could just show you a little bit better about how everything works and how I go about teaching this game, and in particular how this game ends. So I'll meet you there. So for the way this game ends, I let people know that it ends in one of two ways. Either anyone makes it to the seventh level of this track, of the fleet track, and anyone has at least 7 cubes in this little cube area, which is called influence, and anyone has 7 of these helium tokens. Or somebody, one person, has met 2 of those 3 objectives. And I think it's important to actually point to each of these tokens and things. That way players know what each thing is. So now they know that, oh, okay, this is helium, that's influence, that's the fleet track. Perfect. By the way, I should mention that I am using the collector's edition of this game, so some of these components might look a little bit different if you're using the standard game. I also let players know that they could always reference this reference card, and it lets them know how the game end triggers. Okay, and by the way, this reference card is fantastic, so definitely use it. And with that, we will switch over to the other side, and I would let people go ahead and look at these along with you as you start to teach the game. And the first thing is these 2 actions. But before we get into that, I let them know that essentially when you're trying to get points, most of your points are probably going to come from these cards. And they start off with, their little hand of cards. And I tell them that what you're trying to do is pretty much create an epic combo in your hand of cards to gain the most points. And you could let them know that the top left corner is like their core points, the core points for those cards, but the bottom is what gives them even more points if they could fulfill that part of, the objective, I guess, of that card. Okay, so that's essentially what they're trying to do. That way, and when you tell them that, they know now, they have some sort of focus, like, oh, okay, I'm trying to build a combo with my cards in my hand. And that's when you could go into the actions that they could take. And they really only have 2 choices. Either they're leading or they're scouting. And then you could explain how leading works, and then explaining how scouting works, and letting them know that scouting will probably only happen once you're really satisfied with the cards that you have in your hand. But from there, you could go ahead and explain. So when you're teaching the lead action, you want to explain what each of these do, what each of these locations do when they pick up a card from it. And I would leave this Luna action for last. So I would go Jupiter, Mars, Institute, and then go into here, because this is where you gain the sovereign token. And that's when then you could have everybody go ahead and read out their own special ability, because all of them have to do with the sovereign token usually. And this also lets them get into the game kind of quickly and let them know, like, okay, so, and it's like, cool, this is who I am, and this is what I could do with that sovereign card, and blah, 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 right? And then somebody like Ceres right here, begin the game with +1 card. They get to be like, hey, I actually get 1 more card. And so you just go ahead and give them a card. And you do want to stress to them at the end of the game, if they have any more than 7 cards in their hand, they're going to lose 10 victory points for each card beyond 7 cards. So that's something that they have to think about. They can't just be hoarding a whole bunch of cards. Although there's not a whole lot of ways to gain a bunch of cards in this game. But it's something they should be aware of. then I would just go through like how you could get all these points and letting them know again with the iconology here, so they could keep track of like what will also gain them victory points at the end of the game, right? So the fleet track, the helium will gain them a certain amount of victory points and all that sort of stuff. And again, with the sovereign token, it's like you get to, if you keep this at the end of the game, you're going to get 10 points, which is cool. And things like that. And this is just something that they could reference again and again. It also tells them all the other kinds of symbology that they might find on cards. And that's essentially it. So I'll meet you back at my face. So that's how I teach Red Rising. And I think that it's a pretty simple game to teach. Especially if I think it's really important when you explain to them like your hand management and like trying to build off combos is the main way of gaining points in this game, although you could get a lot of points in various other ways as well. But just so that they have some sort of mindset as to like, okay, that's what these cards are for. This is what I'm trying to do. What cards do I like? You know, why would I deploy this and all that sort of stuff. That way they could kind of wrap their head around like maybe sort of some of the strategy and everything. The first playthrough might be a little bit hard for them to get into because they don't quite know the cards just yet. And it might require a second playthrough. That way they're really like, okay, I know what I want to do now. This is what I'm going to try to get this and this and blah, 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 blah. So it's just one of those sort of games. I feel like this is a game that when you play multiple times, you can really go into the depth of the strategy of this game. And you might even want to let them know that off the bat, especially if they're players who like to really play competitively and know everything and know how to, you know, best strategize and everything. So there's that. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. Please let me know if you have any questions down below in the comments. And also let me know how you like to teach this game. Thank you so much for watching. I will catch you next time. Have a good one.